Happy New Year and welcome back to the Unfiltered podcast. It's February right now, like we said in the last episode, if you watched it, that we were going to take a break in January. So it's February 13th, so happy Valentine's Day in advance. Valentine's Day is tomorrow, which is why I'm wearing pink. We didn't plan the whole thing, so that explains that. So if this is your first time watching this podcast, welcome. This is the Young Adults Fellowship podcast of Rehoboth Assembly, Calgary. Unfiltered is the exact title of our podcast, and I am your host for today. My name is Funke, and I'll have everybody else introduce themselves.
Yeah, my name is Olisa. That is all.
Okay.
My name is Dial.
That is all. Okay,
Yes,
great.
that is all.
So, because it is, the season of love and all those things, our episode today, as you probably already know by now, is titled, When is the Wedding? So we wanted to talk about everything related to marriage, the pressure to get married as a young adult, what marriage is, what is it not, and everything in between. And none of us on the panel are married, so we're going to bring a slightly skewed perspective. But we may or may not do a second part to this topic to kind of get the perspectives of people who are newly married or people that have been married for a while that can give sort of a different idea of the things we're talking about today and discuss some of those ideas from a different light. So now that I've set that up, we're just going to sort of just start by talking about what marriage actually is as defined by the Bible. So there's quite a few different Bible verses and passages that we can use to sort of define marriage. But I think the best place maybe to start is actually Ephesians chapter 5, which is probably exactly what you were thinking. It's maybe over-talked about at this point, but it kind of gives us a good place to sort of start and look outwards from there. So I think I'm actually going to pass it off to you to kind of kick us off. We'll just go from there and then talk about a bunch of different topics and some things that you guys have actually asked us to talk about on this specific topic today. So that's a lot of talking. Let's get started.
I'm not going to talk too long, honestly. When it comes to marriage, really, a lot of people think of it as two people just coming together and saying that, yes, I'm no longer going to look at anyone else and we're going to stick together for eternity until the end of time, till we pass on to the next life. But although that is true, when we look at what the Bible says about marriage, there are two chapters or two Bible verses I want to point out. One is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21 to 33 that you brought up, Funke, and the other one is Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 to 24. Genesis chapter 2 verse talks about most people should know the story, but it's mostly just talking about how Adam was given the task of finding a mate with the animals. God told him to name all the animals, and of course, there was no mate for him there. There was no suitable helper. And so God, in and of himself, said, it's not good that man is alone. So now I'm going to create a mate for him. And he created Eve. And for that reason, at least as verse 23 says, it says, the man said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. And verse 24 says, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. So at least what Genesis chapter 2 is trying to say is marriage is one man leaving his family, a woman leaving her family, and joining together to become one flesh. So base definition, that is what marriage is. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I think about this a lot. I think about how almost everything to do with wedding culture and marriage culture today doesn't actually have anything to do with that. It's usually, when you're marrying two families. It's not just two people getting married. And then people put a lot of emphasis on the wedding and the planning of that event. And especially depending on the culture you come from, there's multiple weddings too. There's traditional weddings.
Very true.
There's so many different types.
Very true.
For some cultures, the wedding takes like a whole week. For some cultures, everything happens in a day, but it's hours in the day. There's a lot of emphasis on appearance, beauty standards, a lot of different, and there's also the pressure as well to sort of match up to the expectations of your society, especially when it comes to finances. Weddings are usually where people like to flex their status in society and all those things. And none of that is mentioned at all in Genesis chapter 2, like we've read. And this is also the first instance of marriage in the Bible. So I feel like this is the purest definition that we have of marriage and what it means for two people to come together and say that they're husband and wife. And a lot of the things that we've attached to it now are man-made and basically not biblical, which is interesting. Now that we've sort of defined sort of what marriage is, I want us to go into the pressures that I've kind of alluded to. In the young adult circle, in Christianity specifically, there are unique, I feel like you have a lot to say. There are unique pressures or expectations, depending on how you want to word it, placed on us, especially those of us who are either single, completely single, or we're in relationships that are headed to marriage. There's a lot of expectation there within the church and outside of that. So I want us to kind of just touch a little bit on that. So, Dio, do you have any personal experience with sort of pressures being put on you, expectations being put on you by other people? Has anyone asked you when is the wedding? Let's start from there.
When is the wedding? It's very soon.
Okay.
That's what we tell them. Just do it.
Okay, yes.
Jesus is coming soon. We're still waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, there are just various perspectives when we look at this. Currently, I'm dating. But if left to me, my wedding can just be like 45 to 50 of us. But my mama no go agree. Anyway, this is me usually. I'll leave the quoting to you guys because if all of us quote, it will not be too filtered. So I'm going to take a little step, like that gray line, not completely outside of the box, and just try and be real as possible.
Okay.
Now, I would love to to be married by God's grace.
Amen.
Amen.
That's what you want.
But the thing is, it feels more like my parents' marriage because, bro, there's no one in the Bible.
No, there isn't.
Oh my one bed.
You know, actually, technically, when Jesus
performed his first
miracle.
I knew you were going to say that.
That was the first one, man.
It was not them doing one besha. Plus, I mean, we're all Nigerians. You understand what I mean.
Yes.
If it's not happening, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Nobody just wants to do
Small something.
small something. You cannot just go and do it peacefully now and share puff and share the grace. No.
That would be
At
so
the end of the
lovely.
day, you get 1:3. Like the percentage of crowd that come to the church, actually, the rest turns up at the reception.
Yeah, that's
And we know that.
Yeah.
And when they get there, they want to see all the colorful, the color of the day, the family, this, that.
Yeah.
Bro, it's
It's a lot.
expensive.
Yeah.
They don't even want to know how your pocket looks like. My mommy now, she must have told someone, if my son is in Canada, he'll soon marry. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
the fact that in Canada, they just feel like, bro, you've made it.
Money
Yeah.
they flow, money they
It
flow.
must be loud.
Yeah.
We're going to do it big. Whether you want it or not, it's their wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you have to wait and be like, yes, you're marrying for your own happiness, for your own growth, and so many other factors. But they're so happy for you to the fact that they want everybody to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
And
it
then
comes from.
it becomes a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
Trying to match up such expectations with what you can actually cope with.
Yeah.
What you can actually comfortably provide.
Yeah.
Or as my guys would say, chest.
Well, you can
Can you
just-
chest the bill for that kind of wedding?
Yeah.
So honestly, it's not easy. And I turned 31 last Saturday.
Yeah. Belated
I
happy
mean,
birthday.
when I turned 30,
Yeah.
my mom was like, okay, welcome to the third floor. So are you seeing anyone right now? Like, what's the prospect?
What's going on? What's happening?
Like, there's no pressure, but we're looking, we're waiting.
Right.
You get my point?
Yeah.
In other words, they want to know.
Yeah. What your
And
plan is.
I myself, I know, yes, quite all right, I'm not getting old. I'm young, if I do. Very young
Yes.
man. Just so
30 is
you
not
know.
old.
31 is not old.
For everyone who's
really is.
Exactly.
30 is
In
not
case you are
old.
listening, 31 is not old. I'm very young. You
Yes.
can see me. I don't look my age. It's the God's bless. It's God's blessing.
God's
No reason
blessing.
now.
Yeah, it's grace.
But what I'm trying to pass across here is the fact that, I mean, without going directly, my mom has asked and be like, okay, what's up? I mean, they are both over 60 and
Right.
grandchildren
Yeah.
and stuff. It's if I want grandchildren, I want children so that they can have grandchildren.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get my point? But bro, marriage ain't cheap.
No,
If I'm being realistic.
we'll get into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weddings
let me-
aren't cheap. I feel like.
At all.
Yeah, weddings aren't cheap.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Even being with someone isn't cheap. Then talk more of marriage. But, you know, let's save the rest for later.
Okay, yeah, I think that was a good segue actually because we talked a little bit about the pressures. There's also obviously the expectation depending on the age range that you're in. It comes to a certain stage of your life where people stop asking you about, how's school and what are your plans, and then they start asking you, okay, well, when are you getting married and are you seeing anybody? And it's kind of, it shifts. At least in my experience, it's a complete 180, especially from your parents or your parents' friends, people of that sort of age range. It completely shifts to that's basically all they're asking you about whenever they see you is when are you getting married?
When am I getting grandchildren?
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes these questions are like, I don't know, how do you want me to answer? Anyways, moving on, I want us to now kind of talk about what the actual nitty-gritty of marriage is. So we've talked about weddings and the difference between weddings and marriage. Marriage is the actual institution and the, rest of your life you're spending with someone, and the wedding is just the celebration where everybody comes and everything.
As my friend will always say, you go to school, they give certification, and when you finish it, they give you. But marriage,
You get this?
you get the certification before you
you
enter.
get married.
So,
That's very interesting. Okay, so let's I have some points that I wanted to bring up specifically on the reality of marriage. So if we look at 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, that's Peter writing to us and talking about the relationship between husbands and wives. So in Ephesians, which we probably would have put on the screen by now, there's that Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 to 31, I believe, is where we see the verses about mutual submission, where wives submit to their husbands and husbands love their wives, and they're both submitting to Christ together. In 1 Peter, verse 7 of chapter 3, he says, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. And I don't love when we highlight certain parts of a verse and ignore the rest of it, but I do want to draw an emphasis on the very last clause of that sentence there, so that your prayers may not be hindered. I think that's interesting because there's a lot of spotlight on the relationship, the physical relationship between, the husbands and wives. You talk about, the submission is, we talked that one to death at this point. We're always talking about that. And then we also talk about, the reality of finances and marriage and all those things. But this verse, I don't know if there are too many other ones like it, in that it talks about the hindrance of prayers and how the way you interact with your spouse can affect your spiritual life, your relationship with God. I think something, if we have a verse that kind of talks about stuff like this, I feel like that it highlights the importance of marriage, because you have relationships. You have platonic relationships with your parents and your children and your friends and family, but I think there is a special regard that God places on the relationship between man and wife. Probably because the very first mention of it talks about how the man and woman become one flesh. You don't really become one flesh with anybody else. And
at all.
and this race is your own. Like your life and your relationship with Jesus Christ is personal. But there is a uniqueness, I feel, to how we relate to whoever we choose, whoever, the man finds as a wife and finds a good thing, or whoever the woman chooses to, submit to. I think there's a really a big importance on that, which I feel like is why people talk about marriage so much, because it's such an important decision who you end up, tying your prayers to and tying your life to, basically, every aspect of your life. So that's that. I just thought that was an interesting verse. And then the last one that I want to bring up is Hebrews 13, verse 4. So if we open that one, I'm going to read the International Children's Bible version, because that is the easiest. There's no translation easier than that. So it makes it very easy to understand, if I can find it. Okay, yeah, Hebrews 13, verse 4. Oh, sorry, it's not refreshing.
You're supposed to hit go.
Yeah, I did pick it. Thank you. Let's just do that. Okay, marriage is honorable in all, and this is not International Children's Bible.
Is what I have.
Can I just change the translation? I don't know how to do that. Here, let me just do it on my phone. It's okay. That's fine. I should have prepared that. It opened to a different one for me. Okay, so yeah, Hebrews 13, verse 4 says, marriage should be honored by everyone. Husband and wife should keep their marriage pure. God will judge guilty those who are sexually immoral and commit adultery. I wanted to bring this up specifically because we'll get into this a little bit, but I don't want to ramble too much, and I want to pass the mic to someone else. But I just wanted to point out that there is definitely, in a lot of schools of thought, people our age, 18 to 30, some people are, very much so viewing their singleness and the fact that they're not married yet as a thing of, we talked about this in Bible study last week at the UFC. It's kind of a thing of shame for some people because they have that strong desire to be married, whether that is from them or because everybody else is getting married, everybody else is in a relationship. There's pressures from so many different places, but there is the other side of people that feel like it's not that deep. Like, not everybody has to be married. A lot of people don't think that marriage is for them. And there are a lot of examples in the Bible that I want us to touch on today to address that school of thoughts. And I also want to say that neither is wrong, because the beginning of verse 4 here says that marriage should be honored by everyone. So I think, like we've sort of discussed, God does see marriage as what's the word I'm looking for? Sacred and pure, because it is I'm stuttering so much for some reason. It is what's the word? Thank you. Yes, it's a representation of Christ's relationship with us. So it is a very important thing. But whether you are married or whether you choose to be married, or whether you are in a marriage or not, it is something of honor, and it's something that should be respected. And I think that's why it's talked about so much as well, is that you have to respect other people's relationships and other people's decisions, whether they want to get married or not, whether they're called to marriage or not. And of course, this verse also dives into sexual immorality and all those things. And as a lot of us may know, marriage was created for us to be able to have the opportunities to indulge in sexual things within the context that God created sex for. And so anything outside of that is immorality. And there's so much, or at least in this time, when the gospel was being spread to the Gentiles and the older churches, there was a lot of confusion and a lot of unlearning that had to be done, because a lot of pagan communities at that time were very sexually loose. And so there was a lot of emphasis put on sexual immorality. So for people to understand and know how God views sex and all those things. So I just wanted to highlight that in this verse. So now I just want us to move on to some prompts and some topics that we were requested to talk about on this episode today. So we have some prompts that were created by Feed Youth Ministry on Instagram. So I'll put some of them on the screen. So we're just going to go rapid fire. Maybe we'll just go in order and just give 1 or 2 sentences on your thoughts on that topic. Okay. So the first one that we'll talk about is this. So this is for you. Become the right person instead of searching for the right person. Rapid fire, quick thoughts.
Word.
What I would say is, we are not perfect. In Christ we are. As individuals, no, we are not.
Far from it.
My Well, when I was looking for a babe, they'll tell me, take Mr. Left and drag to the right side.
What?
That kind of technically makes the person the right person for you, even though they were on the left part.
I see.
But in other words, what I would like to say is, everything you're looking for in someone, you will not necessarily find. Irrespective of what your checklist is, if you can achieve or get or see 60 to 70%, with God being the foundation, take it. You can work on the rest.
Okay.
Do you know the funny part? Even if you did find someone that had all those qualities, you would still find them imperfect.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You would still find them.
That's
Adam
the
and
part.
Eve, perfect environment, and they still went to the tree of good and evil. Can you imagine?
That is a really good call out, actually. Nobody will ever be perfect enough.
Literally.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is unhealed wounds follow you into relationships. Why don't you take that one, actually?
Yeah, of course. And even if you don't look at the context of marriage, just looking at your life, people that have experienced certain traumas, emotional traumas, physical traumas, abuse when they were younger, it follows them in every single aspect of their life. So it doesn't matter whether you hide them or push them down. If you do not deal with them, they are going to come up in your marriage. More specifically in your marriage, because you're now almost every single hour of the day, you are spending it with someone else. Not only that, you're spending it with someone that's imperfect, that will also bring out those bad things about you into the light. You will vex one day and maybe slap them, and you will be questioning yourself, where did this come from? I've never hit a fly. You say, I beg go. Some people are experiencing it. Give it 1, 2 in marriage. But if you deal with it outside of marriage, then it won't follow you. The question is, are you going to deal with it, or are you going to run away from it? Yeah.
Okay. I think there's 1 or 2 more that we wanted to talk about. So I'll take this one. God is not trying to ruin your love story. He's trying to redeem it. I think this is really hard for people to accept, especially women. And I'm not generalizing, but I have seen this with women, specifically with young women. The pressure to marry, I think, is usually more skewed towards women than men. Because, well, for different reasons. You know, women have a biological clock. You can only
Come
have
again, say what?
the pressure.
My mommy has only 2 male children. I'm the first.
That's why I said I'm not generalizing. I'm speaking from my experience. I have seen a lot of the pressure to get married can oftentimes be placed on women more than men. And this is not a blanket statement. And I would be happy to be proven wrong, but the reason I bring this up is this topic, or this, I guess, sentence, whatever you want to call it, about how God actually has your love and your love life and romance and marriage in mind, and is not trying to sort of take you away from that if it's your desire to get married. I think it's a hard pill to swallow, because we may have, like you said, you brought up checklists. We may have a specific type of ideal man, an ideal guy that we want to be in a relationship with, and some people have been looking for that ideal for forever, for years. And so it might feel like the people that you are looking for, you're either finding that they are already married, or they're with someone, or you're not finding who you're looking for. And it might feel like God doesn't care. And it's like you're putting in effort, and you're going to the right events, and you're praying and praying. Maybe you're praying a bit too much about marriage. You should focus on your spiritual health, but that's a separate thing. You're praying and praying and putting a lot of effort into it, but it doesn't seem like there's any fruit to it. Or you're getting into relationships with people, but they keep not working out. It could be for different reasons. You know, a lot of us can be blinded by our feelings towards people, and then you ignore certain things that you should be tackling. Whether that be being unequally yoked with somebody and trying to change them, or trying to save them and bring them into Christianity yourself, which was never your job, or you're just putting yourself in situations that will bring the wrong people to you, and then being like, oh, God is taking all my relationships away, or God doesn't care. At the end of the day, like Jeremiah 29:11, super quoted all the time, says God does have a plan for you, and God does number the hairs on your head and really does have your best interest at heart, even if it may not look like it, and even if everything that you may be planning for yourself is not working out. God does have the best plans, and He always has our best interest at heart. It takes a lot of bravery, I think, and courage and faith to accept that, and to accept that God has the best for you, even if it feels you've been waiting for a long time. Hey, Okay, just stopping the episode to remind you that if you are not following us on Spotify or YouTube, please follow us and leave a comment on this episode, because this is how we get the gospel out here, on the internet. So please take a second to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Spotify. Now back to the episode. Okay. So let's move on to, I think this might be our last section in here. I want us to talk about. We've kind of already done that. Yeah, I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back actually. Before we do that. So the next thing I want us to talk about quickly, we've mentioned the pressure to get married, pressure from my parents, pressure from each other and all that stuff. So now I want to ask, what do you think needs to change? Is there anything that needs to change in terms of how people interact with young people and asking about when is the wedding, when are you getting married, how long are you going to wait, you've been dating for a year, that's long enough, get married. What needs to change in those conversations? Let's start from this side.
Okay. What needs to change? I don't even know if it's gonna change, really. We can't talk about what needs to change. I don't know if it's going to change, just because human beings are gonna human, and we're gonna do a lot of silly things. But of course, the very first thing is just reducing the pressure and the stigma that is around being single at certain ages. I think that's a big one. Whether I am 20, 25, 30, or 35, when I want to get married, it's my business. At the end of the day, it is my business. And a lot of the time, when people see that someone, even if it's like, especially for women, if you see that a woman is single at 35, you're like, what's wrong with you? What's your problem? Is there something going on that we don't know? Maybe
clock it.
Exactly. Your village people are doing something. Maybe you should go back and check. You understand? But
that's crazy. That's so crazy to me.
Yeah, because for most people, they're thinking, women, there's always a man that's going to marry you now. Just go and marry. So if you're 30-something and you're not married, they'll start thinking, maybe there's problem. Maybe her brain, correct, or she used to chase away her men. Yeah. Anyhow, that's something that we need to change. That's a very big one. Just the stigma around being single. Another one is also like one of the prompts said, it's trying to shift our focus from just trying to find a spouse to actually being ready for marriage in the first place.
Oh my God.
Because a lot of churches, or let me not say a lot of churches, because I haven't been to a lot of churches. Let me not lie. But I would say that we as a church, as the church, are supposed to focus on preparing the young adults and preparing everyone in general to getting married, to being emotionally mature, spiritually mature. Because if you do that, then finding a spouse is going to be a whole lot easier.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time, you're just thinking, a lot of the people around me either are not on the same, they're not following the same purpose that I have, or maybe you feel like you're not even following that same purpose. Let's just say you see people that are more spiritually inclined, spiritually mature than you. You think you're below them, and so you're not going to reach out. You're not going to put yourself in their space in order to grow as well. If the church was to focus on building a group of people, a group of individuals that are spiritually mature, emotionally mature, ready to get married, then all this finding spouse thing is just gonna be easier than how we
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think I actually disagree with you there. I think, obviously those things are important, and that is what stewardship is. That's what the church should be doing for the younger people. I think the issue is not that we don't have that stewardship. I think we have that in abundance in the church, because the church is obsessed with marriage. Because be fruitful and multiply. We want families, we want marriages, and that is how we spread the gospel through families and all those things. That's one way. That is not bad, of course. It's in the Bible, and God loves marriage and honors marriage. And Jesus did not endorse divorce. God is anti-divorce. And there's a verse that we can put up on the screen to sort of express that. My thing is, I think that we don't talk enough about singleness. I think that's the problem. I think there is an overemphasization on marriage, and we don't talk enough about the fact that not everybody is called to marry, and that is okay. It's not a requirement for salvation. And also, examples, said David, Daniel and Paul, Jesus Christ himself, although that's not a very good example because he's God, but There are people.
Still.
Yeah.
They do marry.
No. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is not everybody has to marry. And there is a specific verse that I wrote in here because I'm very passionate about this topic. In one of Paul's letters, I'm going to find it right now.
1 Corinthians chapter.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
7, I believe.
1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 7 to 11. And I'm going to read my translation again because it's easy for me to follow. Now I will discuss the things you wrote to me about. It is good for a man not to marry, but sexual immorality is a danger. So each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. The husband should give his wife all that she should have as his wife, and the wife should give her husband all that he should have as her husband. The wife does not have power over her own. Okay, I'm skipping a little bit. So if we skip to verse 6, he says, I say this to give you permission. It is not a command. Verse 7, I wish everyone were like me, but each person has his own gift from God. One has one gift, another has another gift. So from my understanding, and I want to hear everybody's perspectives, singleness, the ability to stay single and unmarried, is a gift. And as we know, God gives gifts in diverse ways to all of us. So some people do have that gift of singleness, but I don't think we have enough space in the church to explore that and understand that. We're always coming from the point of view of, okay, you're supposed to get married. So that is what you're supposed to do. So let's prepare everybody for marriage. But we never really talk about, okay, some of you are called to singleness. Some of you will have that gift. The lessons we can learn from how to be a good husband and a good wife, all those things can be applied to other areas of life too. But I just think that it's an underrepresented area of the Bible. We don't really talk about how it's not by force for everyone to marry.
Can I actually hop on that a bit?
Please do, yes, please do.
Because focusing on being ready, I agree with you completely. I do think that the church is not focused too much on the singleness. They push a lot of marriage. They push us towards marriage a lot.
Yeah.
At the same time, I also think the church can also do more in terms of preparing people for marriage. At least that's just my personal opinion.
Okay.
That the church can do more to prepare people for marriage. But preparing people for marriage doesn't always mean focusing on marriage.
Oh, I get what you mean.
Yeah, because
I get it.
if you ask most married people, marriage there's the romantic part in it, but it's also about just being a good friend, being a good person, being able to be emotionally mature, being able to sacrifice your own personal will for someone else, looking towards the good of others. Because what Christ calls the husband to do, one of the most important jobs, is to love his wife like Christ loved the church. Yeah. To literally die every single day to himself for the good of his wife. If you look at the book of Ephesians, if you count how many instructions Paul gives to husbands compared to wives, you'd see that for men, it's around like 9, and for women, it's around 3 verses. You can see the asymmetry. Yeah. And that's because, at least for I know I'm harping on husbands, but that's because I'm just a man, right? I'm a man. So I'm just going to dig deeper into that. Yeah. Shifting the focus from finding a spouse to being ready is more so about giving us the foundation in order to be good husbands by being good Christians. By being the Christ-centered Christians, which are literally, Christ-centered is what Christians are.
Yes,
but being not lukewarm, but sacrificial, loving, doing all the things that Paul talked about in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 when he talked about what love is. You know, so it's, as much as we focus on singleness, as much as we focus on how to get married, if we just focus on the core tenets of what it means to be a Christian, that will get us to be ready. Yeah. Because for men, as we focus on being more like Jesus, we would love our wives the way we're supposed to love our wives. Yeah. And for women, if we also focus on being like Jesus, who was submissive to the Father, who was a servant, that doesn't mean our wives are servants to their husbands. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, for the husband, being the head of his wife does not mean he just has ultimate power and authority. It means being like Christ, which means being a servant. He is pushing up his wife. Yeah. The husband is washing his wife's feet. Yeah. He is laying down on the ground so that she can walk over him towards the destination that they need to get to. It does not mean being a footstool or being a mat where your wife just walks over you, your children just walk over you. But it means carrying the most burden in your family. whether it's financial, emotional, whatever it means, whatever it is, you're carrying that burden that Christ also carried for the church. So, that's why I meant just to add more context around being ready. It's about training us to be more like Christ, which of course the church does as a whole. But sometimes we also need to connect it to marriage, because marriage is not just about you find someone that you love and then you get married to that person and then that's it. It's about finding someone that you love and training us so that even when that desire and infatuation and that even the romantic love fades away, because it ebbs and flows, it's not always straight, we can still be Christ-minded. We can still love the person. Because the foundation is there. Exactly. But you are very correct in that we also should focus on our season of singleness. Because, like you said, a lot of the time is, when are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? Instead of, now that you have gone from school, you're working now, what are your goals? You know?
What should you be working on?
What should you be working on
right now?
before you even get married? Like, let's just say marriage is 15 years from now. What are you working on step by step? Do you have a job?
Let me chip in there.
God bless you.
Let me chip in there. Let's take a step back.
Okay.
Do you want to get married?
Yes.
First question. Thank you.
That's what it should be. That's what it should be.
Now,
How are you
another thing I would
preparing?
like to say is, it might be the head of the family. If you have a really good wife, she's the neck. And trust me, wherever the necks decide to turn,
That's where
You
you
go.
go,
You will
right?
turn. You will turn as well.
Now, back to the initial question
Yeah.
about things to change.
Yeah.
What I would like to say is, just like the question I asked, we should have those kind of talks with our parents. The times have changed,
Yeah.
obviously. But they believe that generation, like the way they did it, we should do it.
The same way. Yeah.
So instead of taking that approach, I feel like we should sit and have these conversations. When a child is of age, which is relative,
Yeah, exactly.
let's say 24 and above. Up until I got to Canada, I had no idea people married that early. Anyway, still, like I said, based on age, which is relative, like I said, that conversation should happen. What do you want to do with your life?
Yeah.
In 5 years, 10 years, what do you see for yourself? Then you could get a response like, okay, I would like to, develop my career. I would like to marry, have kids. When you now mention it yourself, your parents can go ahead and, bite
Start
on
to-
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah.
Just assume you're
You're
supposed to
getting
marry.
married. Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
must
then
have
go
grandchildren.
ahead to be like, Alpha, what's the timeline for that marriage?
For the wedding, no. First, the
Exactly.
Yes,
for the wedding.
the emphasis is actually
Emphasis
on
on
the
the
wedding.
wedding.
After the wedding is, okay, when are the grandchildren?
Yeah.
And once you drop the grandchildren, that's when they will leave you.
Yeah.
That's if they even have enough grandchildren. Though.
So that's
You're
the
the
thing.
only child.
If you're the only child, they say, 1, 2, 3, bring more, print. That's what they want. Print, exactly. Print, let us see.
Is it a photocopy machine?
I guess.
Now, so, I don't know, I think it was Pastor BC that talked about that story where there was a woman, she hadn't given birth for like years. And next thing you know it, she went to God, she prayed, she promised God. I can't remember what exactly.
Yeah, I remember the
she was.
testimony.
But she was
And
giving
then
3
6
plants,
months.
at least
Exactly.
6 months. Three.
When she told the husband, give me 6 months. And after 6 months, she started giving birth.
Triplets.
Triplets.
They're all dropping.
That is a testimony. This guy,
Serious
he
testimony.
wanted to test God. Oh yeah,
Serious testimony.
take.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think we've had some very, very good conversation today. So the last thing that we do on every episode is a segment called The Playlist, which is where we just go around the room and you mention one thing. So it could be a book, a TV show, a movie, a song, a Bible verse, whatever sermon that has been helping you recently. So it could be in the last week, in this season of your life. What are you sort of consuming that is helping your spiritual life right now? Just one thing.
Well, I do more of songs.
I love that. So do I. So go ahead. Just name like one song or any specific thing.
I would love to say it depends on what you're feeling at the moment.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I have a playlist.
Of course, yes.
Several playlists.
Yeah.
There are days I go to school and I'm overwhelmed. I just come back and just want to unwind. And then you just listen to Omemma and be like,
Chandler more. Yeah.
Exactly. So stuff like that, it really just depends on the day.
On the day, yeah, that's
and
fair.
how work went, how school went. That's it for me.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I love that song too. For me, I actually brought it, which I never do. This book, it's called Young Apostles. It's actually I guess like a graphic novel. It's a series. So it chronicles Jesus and his ministry, and specifically each of the 12 disciples that he raised. So there's 12 volumes. Only one is out right now. So it's being written in real time.
Nice.
Yeah, so if anybody reads stuff on Webtoon, it's on Webtoon right now. You can find the
I'll
physical.
definitely check it. I read
Yeah,
Webtoons.
you do? Yeah, okay. It's on Webtoon right now. You can get the physical book if you want to.
All right.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I mean that with all seriousness. It's actually a really, really fantastic book, especially if you're not a Christian. So it's a great gift if you're trying to evangelize to people as well.
Yeah. And mine is a book on marriage, because I know God has not called me to single at all. I am ready.
I like
I'm ready.
that.
Or
You're
at
getting
least I'm getting
prepared.
ready, Sha. So I'm reading this book on marriage called this Momentary Marriage by John Piper. Absolutely incredible preacher. And it really focuses on marriage in its depth, in terms of what exactly God wanted when it comes to marriage. And I wish we had talked about this more, but if we go back to like Ephesians chapter 5, it really delves into how marriage is a mystery. But
Yes.
it's a
Put that verse up.
well, let me not say marriage. I won't say marriage is not the mystery. I believe the gospel displays a mystery, and that mystery can be seen in marriage, where Jesus is the husband, the church is the wife, and every single married person is reenacting that union, that covenant.
Exactly.
And it really dives into how it's not love, or will I say it's not love? I would say in terms of marriages that last, it's that covenant-keeping mindset that really makes it go. That mindset of
What's the book called?
This Momentary Marriage by John Piper. He really delves into the mystery of Christ and the church.
Can I read that verse? Just for
Yeah,
people that are
of
listening?
course.
Okay, so I believe that's Ephesians chapter 5, verse 31 to 33. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I'm saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband.
Exactly. Marriage is important not because it's important. It doesn't derive its importance from a random area. It's important because we are showing the glory of God through the union of the church and Jesus Christ. That image is what God had in mind when he even made marriage in the first place. It's the entire premise. That's the reason why we get married. It's because that's in my mind. This is how I understand it. It's why there's no marriage in heaven, because the church has already been united. As we die, we are united with Christ. And so there's no need for marriage anymore, because we're not representing anything anymore. We are now with our husband in this case.
I've never thought about that. That's so true. There's no point in reflecting Christ in the church when you're...
We're already there. We're already there.
we should
Already
read that
there.
book.
So it's a wonderful book. It really opened my eyes to
Remind them of the name again, please.
this Momentary Marriage by John Piper. This Momentary Marriage by John Piper.
Read it. I'm gonna go read it.
It's an incredible book. It's an amazing book, and yeah, I think anyone that reads it will be blessed. And at the end of the day, we should also read the Bible, because that's very important.
That is the key foundation. Before you read any book,
Before you read
now.
anything else, read the Bible. Read the Bible. That's
please
very
read the
important.
Bible.
Well, yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time. And yeah, for everyone that's listening, if you would like us to do a second part, because there's so much to touch on this topic.
There's so much.
If you would like to hear a second part, a part 2 of this topic, please let us know. If you're listening on Spotify, let us know in the comments of this episode. If you're on YouTube, please leave a comment or DM us on our Instagram. All of that will be on the screen. And yeah, thank you so much.
One more thing.
Yes.
To our listeners, viewers, keep following, keep watching, keep listening.
Yes,
And
thank
please,
you.
if you are of age, please have that conversation.
With your family.
It's very important.
And with yourself as well.
Yes,
Yes.
of
Have that
course.
conversation. Don't just
Yourself first.
assume.
Don't
Actually,
just
ask yourself, do
assume.
you want this? Do you
ready?
want this or do you want what your parents want?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have that conversation. It really
And
helps.
let the Holy Spirit guide you.
Amen.
Okay, bye guys. Thank you
Thank
for
you for
watching.
having us.
Bye.